Before you get too depressed and lose sleep this evening, let's see whether or not there are any solutions to South Africa's seemingly intractable economic problems spelled out by the Finance Minister Tito Mboweni in Parliament on Wednesday. We saw the medium-term budget policy statement paint a really gloomy picture of South Africa right now, with all the graphs going in the wrong direction in terms of debt levels, in terms of servicing costs, in terms of the cost of running the country, and then growth levels plateauing. And often National Treasury is very optimistic about its growth levels and has to revise downwards. So in any scenario, South Africa in all kinds of economic trouble. Nazmeera Moola from Investec Asset Management. Let's say we do get put onto the naughty step. We get 90 days of negative ratings watch and a downgrade does come, March 2020. What happens then?
If a downgrade comes in March 2020, it means the Treasury's been unable to consolidate the budget. It means that we haven't seen the types of expenditure cuts that are necessary to actually resolve the problem. What happens then, either we can take that as a point to actually deal with our issues and do two things. Start actually implementing the measures to get growth going, which means moving on from consensus building with everyone to actually making some decisions and implementing. And that includes in the case of Eskom. So the announcements this week were good. They weren't enough. We need to see much more private sector participation in electricity generation. We need to see much more in the way of renewables, which is increasingly price competitive with coal. And we understand the need for a just transition for coal communities, but we also need to be in a situation where we can access cheap international finance that wants to support countries making this transition. Those are the sort of things that we need to do at this point in time to develop a long-term plan for South Africa's growth rate, a long-term growth plan.
We'll get on to growth in just a moment. It doesn't have to get to ratings downgrade. Elon Musk, you talk about renewables. Elon Musk talks about the probability stream. And if you make good decisions, it adds to the probability stream of good outcomes. You make bad decisions, it adds to the probability stream of lousy outcomes. At the moment, we're on the negative probability stream. We need to start increasing the probabilities, Johann, of not getting to the downgrade day. Is it possible? Can we pull it off?
It is still possible. I'm not very confident, though, given the track record of very slow policy reform.
Let's live in La La Land for a moment and say, yesterday's medium-term budget policy statement suddenly makes trade unions wake up and go, oh, we better start compromising, makes government departments go, you know what, maybe this Tito guy's actually not so bad after all, and for self-preservation purposes, because if downgrade is inevitable and we're all going to be cut back anyway, well, we may as well prevent the inevitable from happening.
I think a few very small steps, they might sound small to us, but maybe they're big for the unions. A wage freeze, for instance. Significant further spending cutbacks. And it doesn't have to be that significant. Just show a path where the budget deficit gets towards 5% of GDP instead of 6%.
Right now we're at 5.9.
Yes, but
going to 6.5 next year.
Yes, and then still 6 in a 3-year term. So instead of 6 in 3 years' time, 5% in 3 years' time. A couple of small indicators that we are heading in that direction. Even another VAT rate increase, even though it won't help significantly, it's the message that we send. So a couple of those messages could be enough to prevent an actual downgrade.
But Nazmeera makes the point that growth is the solution, and it is the only solution. The benefit we had from 2000 to roughly 2007, 2008 is the South African economy was growing north of 5% at various points. Their jobs were being created. It was an environment in which optimism was high. Global financial crisis happened, we ran out of electricity, and then we got the lost decade. But there was a time where it was possible.
Yes, exactly. Under this ANC government, when Thabo Mbeki was president, Trevor Manuel Minister of Finance, Tito was at the Reserve Bank. So confidence in the economy, confidence that policymakers can make the right policies, we are at that 5% plus economic growth. And I think we're still heading towards that type of scenario again, where confidence can continue to lift. So a lot of small little things that has been done, albeit too slow for us, but that has been done in terms of fixing the state, fighting corruption, new government, reform-minded government. We might wake up one morning and see that business confidence is starting to increase. And there's that very clear link between confidence and growth. I don't expect us to go back to 5% plus economic growth rates. But better than the past 5 years, 1% average. And that'll help.
In every ER show, any hospital show, you get those pads, those defibrillators that they put on the patient who is dead and has been at the bottom of the lake for half an hour. It's by some miracle, Nazmeera, the patient is brought back to life. What are the defibrillators going to be for the South African economy?
The first step is some agreement with unions that salvages the wage bill for next year. It stabilises our finances and gives us time to get the growth measures going. The second one is a plan on Eskom that allows private sector generation, particularly into renewables.
But
because
the Eskom board is telling us, they're not allowed to run the Eskom business like a business. Although Tito Mboweni in the medium-term budget policy statement says SOEs are businesses and must be allowed to run like businesses. On the other side, you've got a Department of Public Enterprises that is going softly into the abyss.
Well, it's about making decisions again on Eskom and again allowing the entity to make decisions. I mean, they would go for load shedding. Perhaps we as a country decide we don't want to go for load shedding, but then we factor that into the calculation and leave them to run everything else. We don't micromanage and interfere with everything. We allow Eskom to run itself. If we trust Job Mabuza, which I tend to do as a chairperson, allow them to appoint a CEO and get on with it.
That's a crucial appointment. It's happening, we're told, next week. Any bets as to who it might be? It needs to be somebody bloody-minded, tough as nails, and with the skin as thick as an ox.
There are a couple of names in the ring. I think we need to wait and see. I would hope that it is somebody capable of implementing the restructure, the breakup into three, and then the focus on restructuring the entity entirely. Because what we need to understand is that the major side effect of corruption is the loss of really good people and the fact that organizations are structured in order to facilitate theft, not in order to facilitate efficiency. So if you look at the way the power stations are currently organized with this cross-matrix reporting into head office, it's complete nonsense. They should be run by a power station manager who has complete and utter authority over that power station and complete accountability to deliver.
It's really not that complicated, is it? I mean, economics is actually quite a simple thing. I don't mean to undermine your great profession, but
we have two hands each.
On the other hand, it's not that complicated, and it does go down to doing really simple things effectively, often, and repeating them.
Exactly, but then economics is also about the study of humans. And we complicate it.
Exactly. I think that's the problem. Humans, it's your fault. It's all of our faults, frankly. We're on a knife edge. We really are. It's an exciting 24 hours ahead. By this time tomorrow night, we should have an indication from Moody's as to what they think about the rating. I am with these guys in terms of they've been cut to a negative watch and to be told we've got 3 months to get our stuff in order. Otherwise, the cuts will come. Then it gets painful. Sorry to ruin your night. Good night.